speaking specifically from an agency point of view, you get to a point where you realize you're constantly plugging gaps and you're constantly plugging gaps with more bodies, which means it's more expensive, which means you have to spend more time training. And, I was looking for a different way to kind of get out of that agency rat race because you realize it becomes much more of an HR business as opposed to a service-based business as you grow. And as I said, it gets really, really expensive. And you actually hit me up. You reached out to me via email. I don't know if you remember, and it was at the right time. It was like divine intervention. And you asked me, you basically just said, hey, what problems are you having? Is there anything that I can basically help automate with? And that was basically what kicked off our working relationship and really pushed me down this whole new path of automation, which did exactly what we're talking about. It allowed me to productize my service. It allowed me to lower my labor costs. It allowed me to also, more importantly, I think, make my staff more happy, more productive, and our clients more happy. And our results were even better because we were able to get more stuff done, which at the end of the day, this is what we're doing. We're selling our time. We were able to increase the value of our time by doing less work. And the output was, I was not in this fetal position like this gentleman here. It was the complete opposite.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. I'm here with my friend and business partner, Ryan Stewart of the WEBRIS digital agency. Hey Ryan, welcome.
What's up, David?
And we're here today to talk about how Ryan and I came together, Ryan of WEBRIS and myself of Coding is for Losers. We build automation tools in the Google Stack, in Google Sheets, Data Studio, and BigQuery, primarily for digital agencies. And we're here today to talk about our story working together. So for those of you who don't know, Ryan and I built this business, the Blueprint Training, which is a package of all of our best, templates and tools and SOPs and all that good stuff that Ryan used to run his agency at WEBRIS, packaged up into a business. Last year, not to brag, just to give you guys a sense of the scale that you can get to with a product business pretty quickly. In 2019, our first year in business, we did over 500K in revenue. So this is not, we're not retiring. We continue to work, but you can build a nice revenue line for your business by productizing what you're doing.
And I think just to piggyback that off real quick, David, is that it's not just taking these products and turn them into like a true piece of software, which obviously is what you just referred to, but also making your service more streamlined. So before we even launched the blueprint, we built these things for my agency, WEBRIS, which allowed us at the agency to increase our revenue. And again, to do less and still get more. I think that's the key here, right? You can take these things and turn these into front-facing, customer-facing products, but they're also really valuable internal tools to help speed up your processes, to help speed up your output, and to just make you more profitable and efficient as an agency. Again, because at the end of the day, an agency sells time. We sell our people's time to get stuff done. And anything that we can do as agency owners to get more out of our team without pushing them to work 20 hours a day is a tremendous win. So it's also productizing your service from an internal point of view to get more done and to increase your outputs.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty of kind of what's possible here, and what we'll talk about, the rest of this little session. So the first thing is I want to get into the stack, right? The stack that we work with is the Google stack. We use Google Sheets, Data Studio, BigQuery, Docs, all this good stuff. We'll get into why we use that stack and kind of what you can do with that in terms of building products. The second thing is we'll dive into some real life products that Ryan and myself built together along with his team and my team, of course. There are 3 products in particular that I want to focus on. And lastly, I want to share with you guys, for some inspiration, access to a free vault full of these types of products, right? Google Sheets templates, Google Data Studio reports, BigQuery recipes, all kinds of good stuff that you can pull down off our free Trello board. We'll give you access to, and get inspired and build your own stuff. So let's get into the Google Suite and kind of why we use it, why it's important. Ryan, you can chime in with any of these you disagree with or agree with. But the first thing is we are super biased towards building on existing tools. And that means not starting from scratch and building your own software, frankly, just because it takes too long. The time to getting a prototype live using existing tools like Sheets is can be days, can be hours, can be weeks. With software, it's measured in months and often years. So we obviously will take the short end of that.
And I think just to piggyback off that, David, sorry, is that I think a lot of people, and I hope people don't take this the wrong way, but push towards software. Like, it's expensive. It's going to take a lot of time. It's always longer than always longer than projected, right? Kind of like building a house. And at the end of the day, everything that we do as marketers ends up in some sort of spreadsheet or doc or PowerPoint template, right? That's the amazing thing about the Google Suite. That's why we love it. But also, I think, again, people push towards software because they think that it's more official. They think that it's more professional. But at the end of the day, again, it's about the output. It's not about the perception of the output. It's not about what we think. It's about what we're actually getting from this. And I think that's a huge shift that I had personally, because I always wanted to build software and I was thinking I had to build, some very fancy React, whatever online. But then once you open my eyes to this, I was like, holy shit, we can get 20 times as much stuff done and genuinely help my team and my clients. And it's going to cost me a fraction of what it would have costed. And it's actually going to get done in less than a month. Like, once you understand that, this whole universe of opportunity opens up to you.
Yeah, I think the main reason why this stack is so attractive is that you're already using it, right? Your entire team, everything was already on Drive, in Sheets, in Docs, right? So why not automate where you already are? There's no learning curve. We didn't have to train your team up on Sheets. We just kind of went for it, and people picked it up right away. And to go along with that, it's collaborative. You use access controls within Google. It's already, you're already doing it. And the last, couple reasons why we really like to use it. One, it integrates with everything. So Zapier, all of these, kind of API connectors tools use Google Sheets as a hub, frankly, for a lot of activity. So you can connect to all the other tools that you already use, whether it's Trello, Asana, whatever it is, using Google Sheets as a hub. And the last one is you can customize the daylights out of any tool built in this stack, right? Because not only do you know how to use it, but you can modify it. You can add a new column, add a new data set into your sheet. It doesn't take going back and forth with my team, right, for you guys to kind of hot rod this. And we see that a ton in the blueprint training, right, Ryan? Like, people buy a module, use a Google Sheets template, but then they send it back to us and they've like added all these different tabs and are doing all these different things that we didn't expect people necessarily to do. But that's all the Google stack. I think it's pretty clear. Now that we're fans of Google, we're not paid by Google, but if anyone at Google is watching this, you can find my contact information online and send me a check. So let's dive into, tangibly, what does this look like, right? What are the types of products that we ended up building in the Google Suite? The first one is Google Sheets, old trusty. And where we started, I don't know if you remember this, Ryan, the first thing that we ever worked together on was the agency, your project management template in Google Sheets. Can you talk a little bit about like kind of what state those were in when we started working together? You already had it pretty much down, but
we always struggle with project. I think every agency struggles with project management and deciding which tool to use. And ultimately, we tried Asana, Basecamp, Trello. We tried a lot of things, and they were cool. But the problem with those solutions is that they're general project management solutions, right? They're amazing tools, but they are built for a broad spectrum of people and processes and companies to use. So they're very general, and which means they can't be fine-tuned for the very specific needs of an agency, specifically an SEO agency. Like I said, there's so many moving pieces that goes into just SEO. There's technical teams, there's content teams, there's creative teams, there's literal SEO teams. So, the outputs that we were getting from these tools just weren't necessary. So we ended up just using Sheets, just kind of as like almost like a checklist, a very simple project plan that was effective because we were able to customize that and bend that to our needs. But the problem was the lack of automation. We were just going through and, continuously having to rebuild things by hand. We were having to copy and paste across sheets. It was very time consuming to use that system without the automation. And thankfully, that's where you stepped in and you were able to help us. And you can speak to this more in terms of the technicality of it, but you were able to help us integrate sheets. You were able to help us basically turn a spreadsheet into a piece of software that was custom built to do SEO. And to this day, that was probably 4 years ago. To this day, we're still using the system. It's what you and I use to manage our portfolio of companies. It's what our team at WEBRIS still uses to manage our portfolio of clients. It's incredibly effective, and it's custom for us. It's again, it's going back to that building a house. It's a custom house that was built for us, and it's perfect. It works for exactly what we need it for.
Yeah, I think there's a few technical aspects that we can talk about. So you really had your project management sheets worked out. You had like the layout of how you wanted them to look.
Mm-hmm.
The main issue was they weren't talking to each other. So you had, project management tracker, which was like a checklist of tasks. You had, you're matching content and you're matching like outreach and another sheet over here. The first thing that we did was connected them all together. So we used formulas like import range, if any of you are familiar. We used Google Apps Script to kind of pass data between the sheets on different triggers, right? If you set this to review needed, send it over here for Ryan to review. Stuff like that. When you onboard a client, fill out a form in a menu and say, here's the client, create their workbook, create all the like templates that they need, put it in a Drive folder over here. So all of, I think the main thing is getting sheets to talk to each other, and getting them to integrate closely. So that's one thing that Google Sheets does so well. We didn't do this with a project management tracker, but of course, if you were using other tools downstream for like time tracking or anything like that, we could have used Zapier, to connect it up to your time tracker or whatever it is.
Yeah, and again, I think that just goes to push even further the fact that there's still so much that we could do with it. And again, the cool thing about getting the tool, we've sold this to people now, and a lot of other agencies, hundreds of other agencies using the system as well. And it's awesome for them to kind of spot what they need from it too. And then, a few simple either lines of code or a few simple formulas, and they've then customized it for their agency, which is just not possible with some of these other tools. And I mean, not to mention, guys, the fact that you don't have any recurring costs on this, none. Whereas when we were using Asana at my other agency, we had 50 people in there. That's a very real couple $1,000 a month bill that you have to pay per user. It's expensive. But when you're running on this, there's no recurring costs and it's literally yours. You own it. Whatever you can dream up, pretty much. I mean, I don't want to write a check that my butt can't cash, but whatever you can dream up, you're able to at least make some sort of modification to make it fit your needs. And again, too, we'll cut to just for our video editor here. I want to make sure that we're overlaying actual screens of the software. But like one of my favorite parts about what we built and what David built was it functioned and it felt like a piece of software, right? The ability to hit that drop-down menu, add a client, just like you would with a piece of software. But again, highly customized to exactly what we needed. It allowed us to really cut down on our manpower, our need for project managers. We were able to literally cut our project and account management team in hours in half because David basically built us a hands-free client management system where all we had to do was update one spreadsheet, one line, and it would automatically push and pull to all the other spreadsheets. So the client's folder would get updated, their individual tracker would get updated, the link file would get updated, all with one simple drop-down menu. It's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing we didn't talk about was how that fed into reporting, right? So we fed this activity into monthly reporting so that when you're putting, and we'll talk about this in a second, but when you're putting reporting together, you didn't have to update like, here's what content we published last month.
I think that's a perfect segue into the next slide.
Yeah, let's dive into it. So yeah, tool number 2 and kind of, stack number 2 that you could build on. A lot of people don't think of reporting as automation necessarily, but you think about all the time you spend each month or each week, whatever time scale it is, putting together reporting for clients. It adds up super, super quickly. So we really lean on Google Data Studio heavily for building reporting automation tools. So Ryan, when we started working together, how were you guys kind of doing reporting? I remember you had some kind of like monthly reporting PDF thing.
Yeah, we were we were taking screenshots in Google Analytics, Search Console, SCMrush, keyword trackers, and we were dropping those into a Google Slides document. And it would take one of our top analysts, like our one of our more expensive in-house staff, probably 3 to 4 hours per client to build a monthly report. And we were using automation where we could, that was built into the other softwares in terms of their reporting. But you want to aggregate data from different sources. You want keyword data, you want traffic data, you want sales data, and we had to crosswalk that by hand and then analyze it. It was a humongous bottleneck. So then I didn't even know about this. This is still a couple of years ago. I would imagine this is when it probably first started picking up popularity, was Google Data Studio. And what you were able to do was, number one, is take the sheet system that we already built, because we had built in, kind of like you said, kind of a monthly track, not even a monthly, but a daily tracking system: tasks completed, content gone live, links acquired. And then you also built us a dashboard too that had like traffic, keyword increases as well. So what we're able to do is basically take that and then push that into Data Studio. So that's one element of reporting. We were then able to report monthly on the tasks completed, links acquired, content published, etc. Then what you were able to do too is pull in. What's awesome about Data Studio is you're able to pull in data from pretty much any source, right? They have built-in integrations with Google Analytics, Google Search Console, Google My Business, BigQuery, as you said, Sheets. So what you're able to do is then pull in and basically mash up and blend your own data and charts. So then we were able to build custom charts that had traffic from organic search, month over month, year over year, page by page, keywords, anything that you, again, kind of anything that you can dream up, able to put that into a report. And then once you have that template built, it's automated, right? You can just refresh that data monthly, and then you've got an automated reporting system that is customized to that client's need. It's got data from multiple different sources, plus our internal kind of like PM, AM data, all pushed into one template. We went from 3 to 4 hours a month with one of our top analysts running that to 10 to 15 minutes with an offshore support analytics person who we're paying between $8 and $12 an hour running these reports. So our costs decreased, my team's time increased, and again, like I said too, when you're running a people-based business, you realize it's about them, it's about their happiness, and to be able to take that tedious, boring work off their plate and let them focus on bigger tasks that were more important to the client. Like these things are priceless. So again, we're talking about products, but we're also talking about productizing your service and making your company more efficient, more effective, and just a better place to work.
And I'm curious how you kind of framed this, because this was an internal product for a while before we ever published it externally, right? So I'm curious how you framed having this type of reporting in your kind of like sales and prospecting process. Is it something you mentioned up front to prospects?
These have been a tremendous selling point for us, because what I'm able to do is, it's competitive. When you're an agency, it's competitive. You're pitching against other agencies, and you know that, and you don't blame the prospect too. Of course, they want to solicit proposals from multiple places. So having these proprietary products, basically pieces of software, gives you a huge leg up. Like there's nobody in the world that can really stand against you, especially when you understand too that, well, we have these ones done, but I'm talking to the prospect and I'm saying, hey, based on your data, we're going to customize this to you, and we can also build something custom based on the work needed. So it gives you a whole just capability that very few agencies in the world have. I used to work at Sapient Nitro, one of the biggest agencies in the world, and one of their biggest selling points was always proprietary tools and software. But we're talking about things that spent millions of dollars developing, and those were also, again, slow, cumbersome, and it would cost them millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars to modify those based on the client. So a client would come to them to work with that one tool, but again, they would have the same problems that we were having in terms of non-customization. So when you have the ability to say, hey, we can build you something on the fly, and we're going to charge you millions of dollars, you can't get touched. I mean, talk about having a proprietary advantage in the marketplace. That's what it is.
So let's move on to the third type of product, which is Google BigQuery-based tools, which of course play nicely with reporting in Data Studio, reporting in Sheets, whatever you want to do. But and I'll speak more to this because we've kind of taken our Sheets processes, right, Ryan, and for when you just needed to scale up a ton, when you were working on, more enterprise sites, larger sites, it just wasn't possible to do a lot of this analysis in Sheets, right? You can't do a content audit for a 200,000 page site in a Google Sheet. It just wouldn't work. So when those processes started breaking down, we have moved them into Google BigQuery and built kind of a framework for productizing Google BigQuery analyses that we call recipes.
It started off as a content audit. If you remember, this was years ago. I actually think this was the first tool that we worked on. It was probably like 3.5, probably 3 years ago that we developed a content audit. So
Yeah, I think
the
it was the first
concept
thing that
is,
we published.
yeah, the concept is it was a free tool that we published, but the concept is within SEO, you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward in terms of the content that you're publishing. And what can happen a lot of times on websites is you pick up a lot of, thin, low quality pages that are hurting your search performance as opposed to improving them, right? So what you helped me build was a spreadsheet that pulled in a full website crawl and then crosswalked that with data from analytics, traffic, data from Search Console, impressions, if that page is losing or gaining traffic over 12 months, data from Ahrefs to tell us how many links that page has, the link velocity, data from deep crawl to tell us word count of the, I mean, literally like data from everywhere that you need from every SEO tool out there mashed into one spreadsheet that's crosswalked at the URL level. So we quickly realized that this was way more than a content audit, and it could be used as a technical audit. It could be used as a keyword research file. It could be used pretty much for any step of SEO, depending on how you wanted to, because you have all the data that you need to make URL level decisions about every page on the website. If you're in SEO, you know how incredibly impactful that is. So you basically have an entire SEO campaign in one spreadsheet. So we quickly kind of moved over to this. So we published the content audit for free on our blog years ago. It did great. And then we realized we have something deeper and we want to continue iterating on this. So we changed the name to the website quality audit. I think it's a little bit more aptly titled because what we're really looking at is the quality of that website from a search perspective. And we're also pushing it now into Google Data Studio for visualizations. And that's really where I think BigQuery becomes so enticing, because now where we're at with this is we're saying, okay, we ran this once, but we want to refresh this data as much as possible, whether that's weekly, daily, depending on how deep in SEO you are, or monthly. So we're basically taking this and saying, this is the first thing you want to do when it comes to SEO. It's going to give you everything that you need to run an SEO campaign and then push into other parts of it. But then also, hey, BigQuery is going to refresh this data daily. It's going to pull in all that data via API, and it's going to give us updates on the progress. So like what changed in terms of after we made these changes to these URLs. Did the keywords improve? Did the traffic improve? Did we get new links, etc.? And then we're basically turning that into a monthly reporting solution too. So we're able to continuously monthly report on the things that matter for SEO.
So let's talk a little bit, Ryan, about like the process for if you want to build your own products, what process can you follow? And the first step, of course, you can talk about this a little bit, like identifying existing bottlenecks, just looking at your own business and not trying to go outside of like, it would be cool if, we built this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that if you're serious about working with David, you can't go to I mean anyone really. You can't go to any developer and just be like, hey, like I said, we want to build a keyword research tool. You have to really understand what's stopping you from doing keyword research to the best of your ability. And that starts looking at what's taking up your time. What are the repeatable tasks that you are doing over and over and over again? Anything that could be sped up, either outsourced or automated with some sort of software solution. So you have to really, really look hard at what it is that you're spending a lot of time doing. Again, those repeatable tasks, that anything you're doing more than once that, you're either trying to train someone else to do, or you're just wasting a lot of time doing yourself. That's exactly where you have to start.
Mm-hmm. And the second step, after we've identified that and we've built something, it's test it to death. Like we iterated on these tools so much after we built them, Ryan, right? Like, Caesar, was testing things out. We were actively trying to beat these things up.
Mm-hmm. That's with any software. Anything that you build, you just testing is a humongous part of it. Even if you want to deploy it internally, but more importantly, if you want to deploy it to the public market,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a nightmare to put something out there that you haven't fully broken yourself and then work through those solutions. So absolutely, testing is.
And so once things are live, you have to brag about it. Like at what point, you obviously work this into all of your pitches at this point, right, Ryan?
I mean, I'm a marketer. That's what I do. It's not hard for this. I can't lose them.
But it doesn't, it's these internal tools, they're not just there to help you out. They're there to frame the positioning of your agency and separate you from the pack. And lastly, if you're ready, you can publish them as a course or product. We didn't do this for a while because we didn't really know what we were working with. But I think at this point, there's like a well-worn path for agencies getting into this type of business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's also important to note too that if you don't want to go through that process of having to build that, then we work with people too that we help them build their own, as David alluded to, we call them recipes. And then we publish them, and we work out a revenue share agreement, and we sell them on our platforms because we have a ton of eyeballs on there, a ton of existing customers who are already familiar with these types of products and they love them. So
yeah, let's get into that. Let's get into how you can actually like make this happen for your business. The third bullet on the slide, but we'll get to it first, is we work with agencies actively to build these types of products and to take them through to actually publishing, right, and managing the support. At this point, we've built an infrastructure for doing this and a process for doing this, so we feel comfortable bringing on other agencies with processes they want to productize, building the product, and publishing it. So that's certainly one way to work with us.
that was the best fit for me. If you're watching this and you're an agency owner, we started this off by talking about this dude in the fetal position. It was just not enough hours in the day. To me, that the other options here are basically to learn how to do it yourself. If you are the type of person who wants to do that, I'm not telling you not to, but I'm also telling you that David's services are not nearly anywhere close to as expensive as it would cost to build a piece of software. And if you've got these ideas in your head, David's also incredibly good at helping you flush them out and turn them into something that's real.
So yeah, that's absolutely an opportunity. Us work together to build out products. Also at Coding is for Losers, we have a number of courses on Google Sheets, Data Studio, BigQuery. So you or someone on your team could certainly dive into those and start building out your own tools. I absolutely encourage that. And the last thing is, we have this free vault on Trello full of Google Sheets templates, Data Studio templates, BigQuery recipes, a bunch of stuff that you and your team can kind of dive into and snack on for inspiration. So absolutely, if you do nothing else today, if you're still with us, dive into that Trello board, check out what's possible with this stack, and hopefully it inspires you to build something for your business. So anything else you want to dive into, Ryan, before we close it out?
No, I would definitely just say, just echoing that, is definitely check out the free stuff. It helps you get a context for what's out there, and what you can do. Also just kind of gets you familiar with how these tools actually function when they're done. But yeah, definitely start with the free stuff. And David has a ton of resources if you do want to learn this. Absolutely. Or again, like I said, if you're asking my personal opinion, I think that you should just hire David.
Cool, Ryan. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Ryan Stewart of the WEBRIS agency. Appreciate your time, Ryan.
Anytime.
And I'm David Kravit of Coding is for Losers. If you want to reach out, my email's here, but it's commissioner@codingisforlosers.com. Hope you have a great day. Take care.